Hey everyone, Dan here. Before we get into it, if you enjoy these videos, please hit the like and subscribe button. And keep in mind that these are my own thoughts, opinions, and ideas. These are not meant to be, nor should you take them as investment or trading advice in any way, shape, or form. Do your own due diligence, put in the work for yourself, and make your decisions based on that. Enjoy.
All right, folks, here we are on Tuesday, February 13th. We're going to take a look at Upstart. So with earnings coming up, I thought we'd come and see, depending on if it booms or busts, where some levels might be where it hits support or resistance. Keep in mind, through all of this, it could go relatively sideways. Now, it does have a history of big earnings reactions. You see here and you see here, sort of a post-reaction action to the reaction. um, but uh, but in any case, like I say, just keep in mind it can go sideways. Now, I tried to clean up and get rid of as many levels as I could to try to declutter the chart a little bit. This is what I'm left with. It's still more levels than I would like to have, but it makes sense to me to spread, the range all the way up here into the 40s and all the way down here into the mid 20s because, like I said, it could have a big reaction or could have a reaction to the reaction in the coming days. So these are the ones that I'm left with. Now the nearest in levels that I see to the upside and the downside, upside 35.56 and to the downside 32.23. If it does dip and continues to dip, 30.64, 28.70, and 25.91. Now, if it gets past this 35.56 and gets clear support over it, or who knows, maybe on a good reaction it just blows through it, 38.24, 41.27, 44, and 46.30. Now, regardless of which way it goes, it's always of note and of interest to see when it does come back to retest a near-in level, what does that do? Does it retest and confirm? Does it retest and reject? So that's sort of the question. For example, if it comes up and blasts through here and it gets over this 38.24 and then hits maybe 41.27, pulls back a little bit, what happens if and when it comes back to retest the 41.21? Does it reject again? Is it able to grab support? So on and so forth. Same thing to any of the downside levels, of course. So that's sort of, of interest to me with these levels as well. Just again, knowing that these reactions that Upstart has had in the past, they've had lingering effects. And here's sort of a tale of two earnings, if you will, right? This one, a big drop here, 34%, and then it just continued to trickle down. That brought it into the 30s. It trickled down all the way to 19 here. And that was the reaction of minus 27% on that earnings. So trickled all the way down into that and then still got slaughtered on that earnings report. Now, the immediate reaction to that, after just a few days, was come up and fill that gap pretty quickly, relatively speaking, and then continue on its merry way up toward 50, right? Coming in just shy of 50. And now it's pulled back into the 30s, as you can see. And so it's just sort of, I'm sort of curious to see. Obviously, it's well below where it was going into this earnings. It's well above where it was going into, I guess it's a little bit above, but certainly well above where the earnings reaction brought it to on this day. So I'm sort of interested to see how the market sort of digests the earnings report. Of course, a lot will depend on the actual, what's in the actual report, but the reaction to good or bad or lukewarm news can sometimes go wacky ways. So we'll see how that goes. Now, the think or swim side of things, of sort of primary interest to me, is that the price action is pinned to the mid-range of the channel here, and it is squeezing on the TTM squeeze indicator. Sorry, it's not squeezing, it's triggering. So I would assume, typically we would expect that the reaction to earnings would be such that it would be enough to put in our first fire candle tomorrow. We'll see if that's the case or not. If not, it would still mean that we're sort of pinned somewhere and triggering, sort of waiting for a potential big move. See, the last trigger and fire here didn't result in much of anything. Triggered here, and then it fired, and it didn't really do a whole lot until all the way back here. So was this sort of the aftermath of this trigger and fire, or was that kind of a misfire, and this is actually a re-trigger and a refire, of which I would just hazard to say those can sometimes be much, much bigger reactions if there's a re-trigger and a refire off of a previous failed trigger and fire. So we'll see how that all takes shape. Now, I did pull in these ATR levels to bring in some additional potential targets. To the upside here, you see 38.95 all the way up to 62.24 with a stop in between here around 50. And then to the downside, you see 24.57 all the way down. I mean, these are insane levels all the way down here into the ones. I don't know what that's all about, but you have levels here as well in the teens. So those seem very extreme to me in both directions, but we'll see, what that looks like. Obviously, it's just ATR levels based off of a swing trade sort of time frame on this study. All right, folks, I hope that your trading week is going well so far, and as always, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next video.